I should have known something was wrong when the turkey started pulsing, not the gentle wobble of gelatin, but a deliberate rhythmic movement, like a heart beating beneath the crispy skin. But by then, it was too late. We were all already infected. It started normally enough. Mom had invited the whole family for Christmas dinner, aunts, uncles, cousins, even great-grandmother Edith, who hadn't left her nursing home in 3 years. The house smelled amazing, a mixture of roasting meat, fresh bread, and something else, and something I couldn't quite identify. "It's a new recipe," Mom said when I asked about the strange undertone in the air. "Found it in great-great-grandmother's cookbook. She brought it over from the old country." Her smile seemed slightly too wide, her eyes a bit too bright. I helped her set the table, noting how the silverware felt oddly warm to the touch. The plates had a subtle iridescent sheen, like oil on water. When I mentioned it, Mom just laughed. "Everything looks different on Christmas," she said, "more magical." The family arrived in groups, shaking off snow and exchanging hugs. I noticed everyone commenting on how hungry they were, ravenously hungry, despite having eaten breakfast. Uncle Pete said he'd skipped lunch entirely. His stomach had been saving itself for this meal. The turkey came out of the oven looking perfect. Too perfect. The skin was golden brown without a single burn or blemish. The herbs arranged around it formed patterns that seemed to shift when I wasn't looking directly at them. And there was that pulse, subtle but unmistakable. "Before we eat," Mom announced, "we need to say the blessing. The old blessing, from the cookbook." She pulled out a yellowed piece of paper and began to read in a language I'd never heard before. The words seemed to slither through the air, making my teeth ache. The moment she finished, everyone started eating with an intensity that bordered on frenzy. Forks scraped plates, hands grabbed at rolls, lips smacked wetly. I watched in horror as Cousin Sarah devoured a drumstick in 3 bites, cartilage crunching between her teeth. The food tasted wrong. Not spoiled exactly, but fundamentally incorrect, like something pretending to be food. The turkey meat had layers, like an onion, each one a slightly different texture. The cranberry sauce moved away from my fork. The gravy left burning patterns on my tongue that looked like tiny screaming faces. "Isn't it wonderful?" great-grandmother Edith asked, her dentures clacking. "Just like in the old country." She hadn't needed help cutting her meat. In fact, she moved with disturbing vigor, her ancient hands steady as she shoveled food into her mouth. I tried to stop eating, but my hands wouldn't obey. My stomach cramped with hunger even as my brain screamed that something was terribly wrong. Around the table, my family members were changing. Aunt Marie's neck elongated slightly as she swallowed. Uncle Pete's fingers seemed to gain extra joints. Cousin Tommy's eyes had shifted position, moving further apart on his face. "The transformation can be uncomfortable the first time," Mom said, noticing my distress. Her teeth looked different, more numerous, arranged in concentric circles. "But we all have to join eventually, it's tradition." That's when I noticed the portraits on the wall. Generations of family photos going back to the old country. In the oldest ones, the people looked normal, but as the photos became more recent, subtle wrongness crept in. Limbs too long, smiles too wide, eyes that reflected light like animals. "What's happening?" I managed to gasp between involuntary bites. "We're becoming what we always were," great-grandmother Edith said. Her skull had begun to shift beneath her skin. What our ancestors were before they had to hide, before they had to pretend to be human. The cookbook isn't for cooking food. It's for cooking us, for changing us back. The turkey's pulse had grown stronger, synchronized with the beating of my own heart. Each bite changed me further. I felt bones softening, muscles rearranging. My tongue split into 3 writhing pieces, better for tasting the wrongness of the food. "Soon you won't remember being any other way," Mom said, her voice coming from a mouth that no longer looked like a mouth at all. "We'll all be family again, properly family, like in the old country." I want to warn others, but it's difficult to write with fingers that keep trying to sprout extra knuckles. The hunger is overwhelming now. I catch myself looking at raw meat with too much interest, imagining textures and flavors that no human should crave. Next Christmas, we'll host dinner for my fiance's family. Mom gave me the cookbook as an early present. The pages pulse gently against my palm, and I can hear them whispering recipes that make my new tongues tingle. I try to remember what I used to look like, but the memories are fading like photographs left in the sun. All I know is hunger, family, and the truth about Christmas dinner in our house. Just remember, if you're invited to Christmas dinner and the food looks too perfect, if the hosts speak blessings in languages that hurt your ears, if the turkey pulses like a heart, run. Run before the hunger takes you too, but I doubt you'll be able to resist. None of us could. And I'm so very, very hungry.